Join me as we take a look back at some of the greatest black athletes of all sports. When we think about boxing, we automatically think about Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Louis. But someone who's often forgotten or overlooked was Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champ. Professional boxing is a pretty old sport. It was started in England and it was almost exclusively white. Black men were not allowed to fight against white men in the ring. That is until the laws were changed, and in comes Jack Johnson. He quickly became a fearsome fighter and soon a number one contender for the heavyweight championship. And in 1908, he did that by beating the reigning heavyweight champion to become the new heavyweight champion, also making him one of the richest black men of his day. And he enjoyed fast cars and white women, to which he was married to one twice. And that's also what got him in trouble with the law, and which later got him sent to prison, because he had violated the strict Jim Crow laws at the time. But then in 2018, he received a full presidential pardon by then President Donald Trump, if you can believe that. Now, when it comes to baseball, everybody's familiar with Jackie Robinson and how he helped break the color barrier in baseball. But did you know he was not the first choice of many people? That honor went to Mr. Satchel Paige. He was a very, very intimidating right-handed pitcher, known for his high strikeout record. He was so good that sometimes he would have his infield teammates sit down while he would take out each player who came to bat. And his catcher had to use extra padded gloves just to handle his fastball. And he did eventually get picked to go to the major leagues a few years after Jackie Robinson, and he still holds two records today that I don't think will be broken. He was 42 years old when he first signed with the Cleveland Indians back in 1948, making him the oldest rookie to ever play the game. He also helped Cleveland win the World Series that year. And surprisingly, he played all the way up to the age of 59 before he retired. And it's a record that still holds today. Football, America's game. Enjoyed by millions every week from September through February. Did you know that the NFL actually had its first black player way back in 1920? His name was Fritz Pollard, and he was one of the first African Americans to be drafted in the NFL. And later, he also became a head coach. And mind you, this is a full 27 years before Jackie Robinson integrated baseball. And in his rookie year, he helped lead his team to the World Championship. That's him on the right down there at the bottom. Despite all his major accomplishments on the field, he had to endure some really tough racism from the fans and even his own teammates. So he had to silence the naysayers with his amazing skills on the field. And he even gained the respect of some of them. And in 2016, he was inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He was a trailblazer for all the black NFL athletes who would follow after him. Basketball was invented by this man, James Naismith, in 1891, as a means to keep athletes active during the wintertime, since it was played indoors, and it was quickly adopted by many schools and universities. And did you know that for 13 years, this sport was played almost exclusively by white people? That's mostly due to in part because we didn't know anything about the game. That is until this man, Edward Bancroft Henderson, who was the first black physical education teacher in the Washington, D.C. area, visited Harvard and found out about the game, learned it, and brought it back to D.C. And let me tell you something, the African American community quickly learned this game. They loved it and they excelled at it. High school and collegiate teams were formed all across the nation, but were prohibited to play against white players. And soon basketball would even surpass baseball as being the most dominant sport in the African American community, even until this day. The NBA was started officially in 1946. However, because of the times back then, blacks were prohibited from joining the NBA. So we had to form our own league and our own teams. And out of that era also came the world famous Harlem Globetrotters, which is still around today. And in 1950, these three gentlemen right here were the first African Americans to play in the NBA. And even though they had broken the color barrier, there were still many obstacles they had to face from people who just did not want them there. Sure, they had to show people what they knew and how valuable they could be to their teams. Even though their names have been forgotten, they set the path for those who would come after them. This young lady right here was born the daughter of a poor cotton sharecropper in South Carolina. But she went on to become the #1 ranked female tennis player in the world. Her name was Althea Gibson, and her road to glory was simply amazing, especially given the time period. This is in the mid-50s, and she entered a sport that was completely all white, and she was definitely not welcome there. Well, how exactly did she do it? Well, that's a long story, but let me try to give you the short version of it. Her family relocated to New York during the Great Depression because times got really hard in South Carolina. And a lot of black families relocated up north. This time was called the Great Migration. It was there where she was first introduced to paddle tennis at a children's athletic organization. The game had rules similar to tennis, only played with a smaller wooden paddle. And she learned the game really fast, and she became very, very good at it. And by the age of 12, she became New York City's women's paddleball tennis champion in 1939. And while she was in high school, she won many state championships, and that gained the attention of a really important tennis coach that will help hone her skills even more, helping connect her with the right people to set her path on greatness. Doors that were once shut for African Americans would slowly be opened because of outstanding performance both on and off the court, as well as an inspiration to these two champions that would come years after her. Well, we've come to the end of the video, and there are so many black athletes I did not get around to. Otherwise, I could have been here for hours. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please leave your comments down below. Maybe I'll have to continue this video next year. Well, happy Black History Month.